Have you ever found yourself completely stuck? You know exactly what you should be doing, but you just can't? Instead, you scroll, you stare at the ceiling, and that little voice in your head starts calling you lazy. Well, we are about to completely tear that idea apart. Let's get into it.
Just let that sit for a second. It's a really powerful idea, right? If you were genuinely lazy, you just wouldn't care. The fact that it bothers you, the fact that you're even here watching this, that's all the proof you need that you're not lazy.
So that guilt, that frustration, that's not a sign of some deep character flaw. Not at all. It's actually a symptom. It's a symptom of being trapped in a cycle. You're not lazy, you're stuck. And figuring out how that trap actually works, well, that's the first step to getting out.
Okay, so let's break down this psychological loop. This isn't just about being in a bad mood. It's a self-reinforcing system that therapists often call a vicious cycle. And believe it or not, it has some really distinct, predictable stages. This spiral almost never just appears out of thin air. It usually gets kicked off by something real, something difficult, like getting laid off, a relationship ending, a huge life change, or even just a really intense period of stress. It's some kind of external event that just knocks you completely off balance.
And naturally, that trigger leads to a whole wave of tough emotions. You feel sad, you feel anxious, overwhelmed, maybe even a little embarrassed. And look, that's a totally normal human response to something bad happening. The problem isn't the feeling itself, it's what we tend to do next.
Our gut instinct when we feel down is to pull back. We retreat into our shell, right? We try to conserve energy. We start avoiding things that feel hard or demanding. It's this primal, almost protective mechanism that's kicking in, telling us to just withdraw from everything.
And what does that actually look like in practice? Well, it looks like staying in bed way after the alarm goes off. It looks like letting calls go to voicemail and those texts just sit there unanswered. You start dodging responsibilities and pulling away from the exact people and activities that could actually make you feel better.
And here's the kicker. This is the crucial part. All that inaction, all that avoidance, it doesn't make the bad feelings go away. It makes them louder. You feel guilty for not doing things, which makes you feel more sad and anxious, which just makes you want to withdraw even more. So you do less, and you feel worse. You feel worse, so you do less. See? That is the trap.
So why does this happen to us? The downward spiral is the mechanism, sure, but the actual root causes can be all over the map. This whole stuck feeling can be a sign of a lot of different things going on right under the surface.
For a lot of us, it's burnout. Just look at this timeline here. It starts out great, with high energy. Then stress starts to creep in. Then it becomes chronic, and pretty soon the exhaustion is so baked into your life you can't even tell where you end and the burnout begins. Does any of that sound familiar?
And this is great because it gives us some more precise language for this feeling. On the one hand, you've got prospect fatigue. That's when even thinking about your to-do list feels like climbing a mountain. Then on the other side, there's execution fatigue. That's when you can't seem to start or keep going or even stop a task. Just being able to name it can be a huge help. And of course, it could be other things too. Maybe it's decision paralysis, you're just overwhelmed by options. It could be executive dysfunction, which is really common with things like ADHD, where your brain just has a hard time organizing and getting things done. It could even be dopamine depletion, where your brain is so used to the constant hits from social media that real life just starts to feel kind of boring. Okay, so we've looked at the problem from a bunch of different angles. We understand the spiral, we get the potential causes. Now for the most important part of all. How do we actually fight our way out of this? And right here, this is the turning point. This is probably the single most important idea we're going to cover. And fair warning, it's pretty counterintuitive.
It kind of goes against everything we think we know about how to get things done.
We've all been taught that we need to feel good before we can do something. We sit around waiting for this magical burst of inspiration, this wave of motivation to hit us. But here's the thing. When you're stuck in that downward spiral, that wave is never coming. Waiting for it is exactly what's keeping you stuck.
I absolutely love this quote. It's from a runner's coach, and it just captures the idea perfectly. Your brain will talk you out of almost anything if you give it half a chance. The trick is to get your body moving before your brain can say no. Motion creates emotion.
This whole idea is called the do something principle, and it basically says we have the equation completely backward. Action is the spark that creates motivation, not the other way around. One tiny action creates a tiny bit of motivation, which then fuels a slightly bigger action, which creates even more motivation. This is how you build an upward spiral. So how do we actually put this into practice? We're going to move from the theory to a real concrete toolkit. Strategies you can start using like today to build that upward momentum.
First things first, you need a why. A therapy technique called behavioral activation starts by asking what you genuinely value. Not what you think you should do, but what actually matters to you. So if you value friendship, a tiny, concrete activity is text one friend. If you value health, the activity is just walk around the block once. You have to connect the action to a value.
Okay, next, you have to make the task laughably small. Forget about write a novel. Focus on write for 25 minutes. That's the Pomodoro technique. Forget get in shape. Just focus on 1% improvement, like doing 5 push-ups. Then you schedule it. And this part is key. Praise yourself just for starting. The goal isn't to finish it. The goal is just to start.
Here's a really cool tool to help retrain your brain. It's called a pleasure predicting sheet. So before you do something, you predict how much you'll enjoy it, say on a scale of 1 to 10. When you're stuck, you might predict a 2. Then, after you do it, you rate the actual enjoyment, and you'll probably find it was more like a 5 or a 6. Doing this over and over proves to your brain that its negative predictions are usually wrong.
And finally, you have to fuel the engine. Taking action requires energy, right? So get that energy by moving your body, even for just 5 minutes, to release those mood-boosting endorphins. Fuel your brain with good food, not a bunch of sugar that's going to make you crash. Connect with other people. It's a biological need. And be ruthless about cutting out the things that drain your battery, whether that's an app on your phone or a friendship that's just not good for you.
And all of this leads to a really crucial takeaway. We have to reframe what self-care means. It's not selfish. It's not some reward you get after you've done all your work. When you are stuck, taking care of your basic energy, your body, your mind, your connections, that is the single most productive thing you can possibly do. It's the foundation for everything else. So I'll leave you with this one question. Not for tomorrow, not for next week, for right now. What is one tiny, almost ridiculously small action you can take to start building your upward spiral? Could you put on one song? Text one person? Just walk to the end of your driveway? Whatever it is, begin now.
Please like and subscribe if you felt that this video was useful. This helps our channel to grow and encourages us to create more such useful content.